And as you know, we record these calls and place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. I believe. So today's topic is Azure Service Groups, which is in public preview. This is another way to organize your resources. So we're going to talk about what are Azure Service Groups, and then we're going to talk about what are the key, features and use cases in a demo. Just keep in mind this feature is in public preview. So Azure Service Groups provide a way to organize your resources across subscriptions, across resource group, multiple resources, variety of resources. You can join them and you can combine them, organize them in hierarchy. So that's the key thing. So think of it a scenario. Let's say that you have in a in your organization you have multiple applications and they're all using network resources like they're using uh, virtual networks, they're using firewalls, they're using app gateway, and there is a team, networking team, which want to keep an eye on those resources, make sure they're compliant, policies, all of that. Okay, so what they will be doing is they can, since they're spread across subscriptions, how they address it. The way they can do it now with service groups is they can take these resources from different subscriptions and put them inside a service group where they can monitor them, they can do an inventory, all of that. So and same thing. On the other hand, there may be an inventory team which maybe want to have all the resources across subscription. They want to do an inventory and all that. They can do this as well. They can combine those, put those subscription in the service group, since a service group can have a relationship with subscription resources or resource group. So that's how they can see all of these through the lens of a service group. And just keep in mind, a resource group subscription or or a resource can be part of multiple resource groups. Okay, just keep in mind. And there is no kind of just keep in mind since this is in public preview, so features are evolving, and the permission that it has, it goes at the service group level, not at the resource level. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So here is some of the key capabilities. You can have multiple hierarchy. You can have flexible memberships. As I said, same resources can be part of multiple service groups. And, you can have subscriptions, and you can have resource groups and resources all can be combined. And, you know, they're the way they operate, they operate with minimal permission. So make sure that user can manage resources without needing, high level permission. So that's a big thing. Um, so we talk about some of these example scenarios. One is aggregating matrices. Matrix. So let's say that you want to look at monitoring from different applications. Let's talk about the scenario that I mentioned a minute ago about networking resources that are spread across different subscriptions. Okay, you want to monitor all of them together. There's a networking team which need to monitor them. That's a good one. You can put all of these service group resources in the same service group, and that's how you have one way of monitoring these resources. Let's say there is a team which is looking at compute. They can look at all the VMs across the organization, put them in the same resource group, and that's service group, and that's how they monitor those. So that's kind of one of the scenario that we can do. In terms of inventory, let's say you want to look at the consolidated view of everything that is across all subscriptions. Okay. That's where service groups comes into picture. Any questions, folks? Okay. And then you have these organization which have kind of a different process. They have different applications that they have resources spread across subscriptions, and they need to create these service groups so they can pick these resources from and resource groups and combine them in certain resource groups. Like you have a departments that have resources. You have certain workload that have resources spread across subscriptions, all of that. So this is kind of hierarchy that you can create a flexible way without relying on because subscription can have you have resources. On the other hand, their resources may spread across multiple subscriptions. But this, since service groups can can have resources from different subscriptions, that gives you more flexibility. Okay, so now let's take a look at what are the way in Azure for grouping resources, or what we call it Azure Resource Manager grouping. So you can have a resource group which have resources, but they have to be in the same subscription. And yes, you that there is some role in inheritance there, RBAC inheritance there, and a resource group cannot have resources from across subscription. We all know about it, and you you have to. I mean, you can enforce enterprise-wide restriction on a resource group. You can definitely do it. Then you have, then let's jump to the management group. Management group are something different. They are basically a collection of kind of a subscription at a high level where you wanna assert policies. Okay, so that's that's another way of doing it. But uh, on the other hand, then you have subscription, which are collection of resource group and resources that you have in the subscription. And then you have the tags. Tags is a more flexible way. They don't support consolidation of resources and things like that, but you can, through policy, enforce restrictions. So if you say, have a policy saying, if these tags are on certain resources, do something, you can definitely do it. But that's where the kind of the niche area that service group covers, which is resources which are spread across different subscriptions. That's where you can combine them and create kind of a grouping to serve your particular need. Just keep in mind it does not support a kind of a what you call the hierarchy or RBAC hierarchy, like okay, applied a role at the subscription level, it's going to be applied to the resource group level and all. No, it's for, so basically it's not for reduction of kind of a RBAC. It's specifically for grouping of resources where you kind of need to get monitoring information, or that kind of you want to do aggregation of metrics and things like that. Any questions, folks? Okay, so just keep in mind how it works. At this moment, this is in public preview. At this moment, you can have 10 level of hierarchy. And by the way, it's very important. It does support hierarchy. So you can have a top level service group for networking, okay, that has all networking resources across your organization. Then you have another service group under that, which has only the networking resources for accounting team. Okay, so that's how you can have up to 10 level of hierarchy. And by the way, we will look in the demo that before you even create a resource group, there is a default service group. Sorry, not resource group, service group. There is a default service group already exists, the root level service group. And just keep in mind, it is tied to not your subscription, but your AD tenant. So it lives under your AD tenant. So there is a top level service group that lives under your AD tenant that will be the parent of all service group that you create. Okay. And as I said, you can go up to 10 level of hierarchy. Okay. That's at this moment. Second thing is that there is a 2000 service group member coming from within a subscription. Just keep in mind. So 2000 resource groups can come from a subscription. So just keep that in mind. And you can have 10,000 service groups in a certain tenant. When we are talking about tenant, we are talking about Entra ID, used to be known as Azure AD tenant. Okay. One other thing, just like I'm sure you have created storage account in Azure, storage account name has to be globally unique. It is not unique to your subscription. It has to be unique across every storage account in the world. Same thing applies to service group. It has to be unique. It can use alphanumeric characters, special character, but it has to be globally unique. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So this is a requirement for the service group, so that anything, um, any name that you can use, you can. It's a very good idea that before you start creating service group, sit down and have a naming structure or how you want to name your service group in mind. So when you are creating those, you don't cause conflicts or you don't step on each other's toes. So just keep that in mind. So this is important because once you create this, it has to be globally unique. Otherwise, you won't be able to create it. Okay, so try to make it unique. Okay, so let's quickly move on. Oh, sorry. Before we jump into it, there are three roles. At this moment, at time of public preview, you cannot use custom roles for service groups. You have to use these three roles. By default, when somebody create a service group, they are given the built-in service group administrator role. You create it, you become the service group administrator. The next thing is the service group contributor. You can give somebody service group contributor so you they can manage this. Just as usual, they can manage the member of the service group, but they cannot create. They cannot give access to anybody else. And then there is a reader who can view relationship in the service group and all that. So that's pretty much it. Okay, let's look at a quick demo. So what we're going to do, we are going to create a service group. So by default, so let me just start creating a service group, and I'm gonna name it. So this is unique. So it's gonna check it. By the way, display name doesn't have to be unique. Display name is only tied to your service group. So that doesn't have to be unique. Okay. And then the hierarchy. This is very important. So this is your base tenant service group. You cannot change it. You cannot change its ID. You cannot change its name. This is by default. This is tied to your Entra tenant. This cannot be modified in any way or shape. So I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to say create. I'm going to just use this just to be safe side. And I'm going to use this as a parent, just this description and review and create, and it's going to create this service group. So before I go into it, let's say, while it is creating it, I'm going to go into an existing service group. So uh, this is the relationship management. Okay. So these are all the items which are a part of this service group. Just keep in mind, it's slightly, it's not slightly, it's very different from resource group. In resource group, this is a very tight relationship between resources and resource group. If you delete a resource group, the resources inside are deleted. If you delete a service group, only the service group is deleted. Any relationship that have resources with other service group, it will stay the same. So you can have a service group, you add resources to it, and then you decide to delete it. It will not delete the resources underneath. And you can add other members to it. So here is the experience. And by the way, I'm just showing you through the portal. You can do resources, resource group, or subscription. Okay, so if I go to resources, these are all the resources that I have. If I want to filter, I can do type and I can say equals to, let's say, app service. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these two app services. And, and by the way, as you can see here, it is creating the relationship. And the connection between the service group and the resource is basically called the relationship. That's, I think it should show up here. Yes, these two app services have shown up here now. And so basically what it's saying is the relationship is there and you can remove that relationship from you can click it here and you can say that you remove it. But in any case, this is not something um, that is like with the resource and resource group where once you delete the resource group, it goes away. It is more of a kind of connection where, okay, this is connecting to this resource or kind of a relationship, or you are just marking those that, hey, these resources are attached to this particular service group for the purpose of monitoring and things like that. Okay. And at this moment, there is some monitoring information. Um, let's see what comes up here. So as you can see here, if there are any alerts, you will see those alerts here. You will see an application map if there is anything there, if you have availability test. So basically all of that information you will see in a single pane of glass here. And you can create an application inside, manage, you can, sorry, let me take a step back. You can create uh, alerts, and those alerts as they happen or kind of raised on those services, they will start showing up here. Okay? So it's really a consolidated way of seeing all of these things here. And let's go into the access control. And as you can see into access control, you will see role assignments. So since I created it, I'm the Azure admin. I am the service group administrator, and then you have other roles, and I can give other users. So let's say if I go in and I go into the, let's go into privilege role, um, service group contributor, I can give somebody access to service group contributor access so they can go in and they can access the service group. And so okay, just keep in mind one thing, and that I noticed, since this is something of a, uh, I mean, identity, I mean, it's connected at the tenant level. What I have seen is sometime, for example, let's see if it happens here. What I'm going to do is this is the service group that we just created. Let's go into members and we will add a member to it. Okay, so we're gonna go in here and it's gonna pop up all the resources. And I'm just gonna add this app plan. Okay. So sometime you will see an error. You will see basically that it could not add the member. And there would be a access error of some sort. Let me see if I still have those errors here. No, I don't. But anyways, you will get an error that you don't have access or some kind of RBAC error. I would say just be patient, wait for some time, or sign in and sign out and sign back in, because it seems to be that some sort of replication issue that's happening, or identity is not kind of a fully replicated. That's why you get the error. So just if you are so basically what I'm saying is if you are adding a member and you get some sort of authentication error when you have just created the service group, don't panic. Just log in and log out, or wait for some time, and you should be able to add members into it. Okay, so that's that. Um, so let's see the deletion experience. So if I go in here and I say I want to delete this, it has one member, and it clearly says that will be permanently deleted, but the resource and relationship associated to these service group will not be removed. So basically, only the um, service group uh, is deleted, but there are other service group which may have relationship to these resources that will stay the same. The resources will not be impacted. As I said, this is more of an association than a kind of I mean, a different association that you have a resource group where if you delete a resource group, the resource it takes all the resources with it. On the other hand, this one it's only deleting the service group, the relationship that the resource may have with other service group, and the resource itself will remain the same. Okay? So, any questions, folks? So that's pretty much all I want to cover today. So as just to want to do a quick recap. So Azure Service Groups, this is currently in public preview. This is a flexible way, a very dynamic way to group your resources, resource group, and subscription. This there's always a top level service group in your tenant, which is tied to your Entra tenant, and then you create service groups under it. And you can have up to a hierarchy up to 10 levels. You can have 10,000 resources, resource group in a subscription, in a relationship with a service group. Or so if it's 2,000, I think, sorry, I misspoke. Let me just go in here. So 2,000 service group members, 10,000 is the limit for a single tenant at this moment. This is basically in public preview. Just keep in mind your service group name has to be globally unique, just like your storage account. Okay. When you it has to be unique across all your all Azure. So it's a good idea before you start embarking, creating service group, come up with a kind of a names, naming convention that will help you make sure that your name is unique and it's not, you don't have to change, every time you create with a different naming convention that when you create your service groups. And also, when you delete the service group, it only deletes the service group. It does not delete the relationship that resources has with other service group and the resource itself. Okay. So with that, any questions, folks? We have 5 more minutes. Okay. If there are no other questions, I will give everybody their 5 minutes back and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.